Hey there folks, Champesk here bringing another audio commentary, and today we have a game between Yumiko, who's obviously a very promising Chinese human, and Fly, who's obviously one of the best orcs in the world, actually one of the best players in the world. And this is going to be a game on Turtle Rock, obviously orc versus human, and one interesting thing actually we're seeing immediately off the bat is how Fly's putting this burrow in this really sort of exposed position for if they are close spawns, then that could be a bit of a worry to him, because obviously if militia come over early, you can cancel that first burrow sometimes, and then that can cause huge troubles where it forces the orc to go for a tavern hero and stuff like that. So being quite bold here, we sometimes see orc players will want to put their first burrow somewhere a bit more protected, but Fly feeling quite confident that he can defend his burrow, or that he can make up for the loss of a burrow if he needs to get a tavern hero later. He's putting that in a very aggressive position, but fortunately for him, it's not going to be an issue for him this game, at least. And Yumiko now finishing up his altar. What hero was he to get first? The Archmage is the most popular hero on this map, and the Mount King's, it's alright, but the creeping, bit too tricky for a Mount King, and especially if you're not in close spawns, or even if you are in close spawns, the Mount King isn't too useful, because obviously the Archmage is great if you want to do any early pressure with the water elementals, and the Mount King really not so good with that, because all you can really hope for is the bolts around. And ooh, look at this, we do have a Farseer coming out here for Fly, so interesting take. This is one of the better maps certainly for Farseer. Again, lots of the creeping is very good, because you can do a lot of these small camps really quite handily, and then also it's a 4-player map, so having the scouting from all the wolves is also very useful. So we'll have to see how this works out for him, and also we'll have to see what second hero he wants to go for. Fly, there's a couple different choices. Obviously the classic is the Torn Chieftain, but really we've been seeing that fall out of favor a little bit in terms of things like getting the Shadow Hunter second, and we'll have to see if that's what Fly wants to go for now. And looks like he isn't going to be checking quite yet. We'll have to see if he wants to put down that second burrow, or if he wants to go straight for that tech once he does get enough lumber. And it looks like this Farseer now could be able to creep this camp very nicely, only taking a bit of damage. And it looks like actually we will be seeing a 1 burrow tech here from Fly, yes indeed. So interesting play here by Fly, going for fewer grunts. Obviously, since he knows that they're not in close spawn positions, or at least he has a good guess they are, because he hasn't seen a militia run into his base. He'll be pretty happy to do that. I mean, on the Dark Mage actually creeping out the other camp first, and now coming down to this camp. I'm not sure if this was maybe to try and confuse Fly, but now Fly's going to try and steal this camp from Yumiko, who's now going to come in, maybe going to be able to get a last hit off. We'll have to see now who can get this last hit off. Obviously, this big turtle does give a good amount of experience if you can get it. One of those wolves does go down, and looks like Yumiko is going to be left to clear out the camp. Yes, he does get the creep and the item, so very successful, and he's going to get level 2 here off these turtles. Yes, he does, and that's going to be so important now for Fly, now really far behind, only a +3 agility items, so really bad items for Fly as well. Actually +3 strength, pretty good on that Archmage, though certainly it would be nicer against that Blade Master, and the Cloak of Shadows not too useful. It's not too bad, and actually Fly now in a bit of trouble. Does need to be very careful with his Farseer. Almost gets surrounded there, but Yumiko doesn't quite manage to get out in front of it, so looks like Fly will be able to escape. Has taken a fair bit of damage, but he's putting down in food launch, so he will be alright. And Fly now finishing up his 3rd burrow, and we can see that that's going to be very important for him, because it's going to mean that he's not going to be harassed at all during his tech, which is such a vulnerable point to lose some burrows, and that can really cause problems. But it looks like in this case that's not going to be the situation, and Yumiko now doing some shopping, picking up some boots. Just obviously having that mobility on the Archmage, especially on a large map like this, is really important. And until you get level 6, those boots can prove very useful, especially if you want to transfer it over to a Mount King second, because that just allows for such easier bolt. And Yumiko now with much later tech than Fly, but that's really to be expected here. Even though there aren't any merc camps, you can get away with teching a bit later. And it looks like Yumiko actually doing a bit more damage now to this Farseer. Fly does need to be careful, but Fly certainly is very good control, and wasn't looking at any real trouble being surrounded there. And now these footmen actually taking a bit of damage, just being bitten at the heels there, but eventually the wolves do have to turn around. Those wolves do give a good chunk of experience, so you do need to be very careful with them, and looks like Fly does eventually turn around with them, and he has done some shopping by the looks of things, picked up a Salve, and actually not picked up a Clarity, which probably indicates he's looking to take a fight somewhat soon again. Otherwise, getting a bit more mana on that Farseer could be very useful, and it looks like indeed that is what he's going for now. He's going to try and get a creep jack here, but it looks like Yumiko will actually be able to take out the big turtle first, gets another +3 strength, so really a quite durable Archmage shaping up here, And we can see, ooh, very, very nice. Just as those spirit wolves were getting low, Fly summoned some new ones to deny the experience and get some new, really nice DPS out on the field. So a good play there by Fly, really making sure that that level 3 comes slowly here for Yumiko. And meanwhile, he does get, ooh, very, very nice play there by Yumiko, getting that water momentum. It looks like we now do have these footmen a bit again on the run, but really very, very nice micro by both players so far. Neither player really losing too much at all, and only a bit of money really in terms of buying items and stuff. And looks like we will be having a tier 2 is done now for Fly, who is getting the Torn Chieftain, as well as the standard Spirit Lodge and Bestiary. So he's going for a very traditional but somewhat old school playstyle. Certainly it's not too unconventional now, but we do have the Beastmaster. This is very, very common. Could be a sign of an impending tower rush, but actually no, we have 2 Arcane Sanctums going up now, and Fly actually does finally get that level 2 after getting that 1 kill there, and it looks like these Spirit rolls do eventually time out. But we do have this Beastmaster second, so a lot of summoned units here for Yumiko, and a good amount of DPS from them as well. So it's certainly a nice choice, but you do want to do some sort of pressure with it, because you can't let that Torn Chieftain creep too much, and on this map especially, creeping is so easy for a Torn Chieftain for 3 grunts, and so that will be something that Yumiko will need to be very, very wary of. Looks like this Ogre Magi going to go down quite quickly, but the Farseer does have to stay here, because obviously Farseer is normally quite vulnerable, but also being only level 2, I mean you really don't want to be doing anything else with the Farseer quite yet, especially considering there's no boots on the Farseer, and just can be a bit too much of a risk there. And it looks like we do have a Talisman of Evasion for that Beastmaster. Not the best item, certainly, but we'll have to see how things work out. And this Fly obviously chose the Endurance Aura first, just because you're not going to be using Shockwave until you really get level 3. Maybe you'll be using it at level 2, but you really don't want to be using anything anytime before that. And just by getting that Aura allows you to creep a slight bit faster, and then also gives you that extra move speed, which allows you to really do a lot. It allows you to get between the creeps faster, and then also allows you to do the creeping faster itself, so pretty useful to do that. And now level 2 on this Beastmaster as well. We'll have to see if he goes for Hawk, which is obviously great for scouting, not as necessary when there's no Baymaster out, because you don't need the revealing capabilities. So it will be possible we'll be seeing a bear, but I'm not going to rule it out at least, because certainly the Archmage is level 3 now, so we're on the way to some good mana regeneration here for this Beastmaster, and certainly it will be affordable eventually, though that Hawk is just so fun to play with. And luckily we do now have some creeping of this very, very tricky camp here. Fly by Looks Things does not, or he must have it there by now, but he didn't actually use it to get the Ogre Lord. Finally he gets it there, and now he's just going to be able to get that surround and get that super easy creeping while taking not a lot of damage. Actually does need to be very, very careful. Spirit Links that grunt at the last second, but took a lot too much damage on it. Ooh, Ancient Chain of Janko of Endurance there. Really, really bad item. He'll have to sell that, unfortunately. Yumiko now doing some creeping of his own. He is going to be solo creeping his Beastmaster now, and keeping the Archmage out of the battle, because he is level 3 now, and getting level 5 is quite ambitious. And in the meantime, we do have 2 Sorks and 2 Priests on the field now for Yumiko as well. So a good army shaping up here for him, but I'll probably be looking to get some Spellbreakers pretty soon. Actually getting Dispel, so I'm going to be looking to get rid of some of those summoned units, as well as maybe the Spirit Link as well. That's certainly something we can see occasionally, but I think at this point releasing Breakers would be pretty useful, just to get in the way a bit, especially considering how many casters he is building. He's going to be very, very reliant on these Quill Beasts and Water Elementals, and he'll have to hope they aren't dispelled. The depth training is done for the Spirit Walker, but there's only 2 on the field at the moment, and they are using a lot of Spirit Links at the moment, so not too much mana here for Fly, who's now moving in for a bit of attack. Maybe just go for the Arcane Bolt and then pull back. I'll have to see, yes, that's what his plans could be. He's going to be careful with this Torn Chieftain, immediately getting 1 Shockwave off. He does have a Potion of Mana as well as a Scroll of Healing and a Potion of Greater Healing on his Torn Chieftain, so we will be alright for mana for a little while at least. Gets another nice Shockwave off there, and a next Dispel goes off there as well to get rid of a couple of the summon units. And we do now have Fly being forced to run back a bit, but he does get nice and snared there off by Yumiko, and Yumiko now going to lose his Beastmaster by the looks of things. Healing Scroll being used here by Fly as well, but the Beastmaster is going to go down, and there we go. And now Torn Chieftain at level 3 just being able to do a huge amount of damage, as Yumiko now just has brought out a lot of units, but including a lot of militia, but at the same time he is going to be losing a bit of mind time, but also getting a huge chunk of experience too, because of the Shockwave just being so powerful at this point. Torn Chieftain uses his last Shockwave there, he's used his mana potion, so now he really does need to run back a bit. There's a lot of low units here, so he might be able to turn around and get a couple free hits off, but he's going to lose 1 grunt in the first, actually going to lose a Raider as well. Very, very nice play here by Yumiko, getting those good hits off with the slow, and now level 4 though on this Torn Chieftain, and level 3 still on the Farseer. So decent hero levels here for Fly, but he's just being forced back by the huge number of casters in the back where they're still at high health. And another Shockwave actually does go off, but doesn't. Oh, just narrowly misses getting a sword kill there. So that's a huge amount of wasted mana there for that Torn Chieftain, because obviously all that damage will be healed up for the next engagement, almost certainly. So that's very, very nice there for Yumiko to have taken all that mana away from the Torn Chieftain like that. And really at this point, I'd be surprised actually. Ooh, we're still not seeing any breaker. Oh no, we do have one breaker on the field now. But really it'd be nice to see a couple more, I think, just because he needs a bit more tanking capability, especially when there's Chain Lightning and Shockwave going to be hitting him a lot. Having something that can be a reliable tank and not take a lot of dispel damage is really, really useful, even though it's like a bit of extra damage from those Spirit Wolves. It's normally a trade you're willing to make at some point, even maybe he's just going to be relying more on his summon units. We'll have to see how Yumiko's going to be looking to play this out, as Fly now using a clarity on his Torn Chief, but not rebuying a mana potion, and using a clarity as well as his Farseer. And he does have some nice items still. Scroll of Healing on the Farseer, and he'll probably go buy another one. He's bringing in some peons as well, so he will be looking to Spirit Link them. And we'll have to see if he's going to be looking to take a fight quite quickly. It looks like he will be looking to take that. Fly now at 49 food to the 48 of Yumiko. So they're pretty easy. Ooh, is this Beastmaster stuck here? Maybe not. No, looks like maybe the Beastmaster can get through there. So Yumiko now will be looking to be a bit more defensive now, because he's pretty confident that Fly is not going to be too aggressive. He's not going to be going and creeping out this camp or anything like that. So I think Yumiko may be going to be looking to push out slowly now. But what's his Potion of Vulnerability? Oh, not the best item. It would be not much nicer, I guess, the Mountain King from Yumiko. Certainly, Fly was hoping for a Potion of Mana, or maybe a Potion of Healing, but he does have a Potion of Greater Healing already, and he does have a just normal Potion of Mana, so maybe he'll be alright. You know, Fly actually taking this engagement quite poorly here. A lot of his units really trailing behind, and he doesn't have Spirit like on most of his units here, so he does need to be very, very careful. One Dispel goes off there, and looks like we do have one Sword immediately being taken out. There was a bit out of position, and Chain Wave and Lightning goes off there, and we do have Fly now going to be taking out one more footman as well, doing a fair bit of damage here, but really there's a nice amount of units in the back, and we can see these units from Yumiko are so spread out that Chain Lightning and Shockwave are really going to be reduced in their effectiveness right now. And we do have this Beastmaster now again in a really bad position. Doesn't need to be very, very careful here, and it looks like he should be able to get out of there eventually. And Yumiko now bringing out another water elemental as well, and Fly now looking like he has a few fewer units than he'd probably like to, but he is getting a lot of damage done to this Beastmaster. And now a healing potion being used on this Beastmaster. Beastmaster does need to sort of run for it now. A bunch of the Raiders being micro back here by Fly, and this Kobe's going to be able to do a good amount of damage to those. The invulnerability potion finally being used by this Beastmaster, and a speech ball now being used by Fly to get out of this battle. And Fly does have a lot of low units, but he lost a couple more Raiders than he'd probably have liked to in that battle. And I think we'll have to see if we see a Kobe coming out now. No, still no Warmill out actually for Fly at this point. It would be nice to see a Kobe, certainly, just because they're so impossible to take down, except for with the summons. And the summons can be dealt with quite well if you do have enough Spirit Walkers, which over time you do tend to accumulate them, because they do tend to stick at the back. So it tends to be a nice combination to have there. And really, as you lose grunts, which are important obviously against the breakers, but they're not as important just because the only other purpose is really to be Spirit linked, because obviously they take extra damage from the casters, and the summons are really annoying to them as well. And a slowed grunt is really, really useless, because it has no range capabilities, whereas even a Raider has the Ensnare ability, which is sort of range, well, it is range, but it's just not an attacking capability. And now it looks like Yumiko going on the counter-offensive here. It's a nice choice actually, because we do see that the Torn Chieftain still 100 mana below his max, and the Farseer well sort of 200 below his max. So really, really nice timing here. Going to be able to prevent a huge number of spells being used by Fly now, and unfortunately not a great position here for Yumiko. Does eventually spread out his units a bit, and as these casters though are a bit too far in the back, actually not getting off the slows that they need to be getting off, and so Fly being able to do a lot of damage here with a lot of unslowed Raiders, which are just so deadly to some of these units. And one breaker will now go down here for Yumiko, as his line has sort of been breached somewhat, and Yumiko now in a bit of disarray. Lots of these breakers are now running back, and a nice Chain Lightning and Shockwave goes off, takes down a lot of these casters to half health, and Yumiko now going to be forced back here. He does have a TV bear in mind as well as a healing scroll, so he'll probably be fine for now, but it looks like he's losing units one by one here, and he's not being able to sort of do the damage he needs to be able to do here, as this grunt runs back and will maybe even be able to survive here. Yes, it looks like it. Oh, actually Yumiko now changing his focusing priorities there and not taking down that grunt, which he possibly could have there. But Fly realized this and brought it straight back into the fight. So very, very gutsy play here. And looks like one raider about to now go down for Fly as Yumiko uses his healing scroll. And we do now have this nice attack being finally routed here by Fly, and the speed scroll now being used here by Fly as well, so he can just get all his units into battle much faster because they are pretty much all slowed at this point, and he's running very, very low on dispels. Actually, he has no mana left for dispels, and that's eventually going to force Yumiko to use his TP to get out of here. He's actually going to get out of here with a good result. This Turn Chief was very, very low on health, but bear in mind he didn't have the invuln bot, and Fly definitely would have been able to use that in time because there's just so few high DPS units from Yumiko at this point that he couldn't surprise Fly or anything like that, and so it's nice by Fly to be able to save that invulnerability potion, but Yumiko was smart to not try and push it, because if he stayed in that battle for too much longer he would have started losing a lot more than he would have been damaging. And actually one invisible wolf here could be able to cancel one clarity at least, and maybe get cancel, actually no, doesn't cancel the clarity on the Archmage. Instead looks like it was timed out there a bit, and Yumiko now going to try and do the same thing. Actually does manage to cancel a healing salve on the Torn Chieftain there, which is very, very important because that Torn Chieftain now still very, very low in health, so Fly going to be maybe looking to avoid a battle for a short time at least, but this Torn Chieftain being level 5 is just so menacing that maybe he's just going to be feeling fairly confident at this point, because he's had all those good battles so far, which has just gotten him this huge hero level advantage. 5-5 compared to 4-3 is just so nice, and we see immediately Yumiko spreading out his units a lot just so he doesn't get hit at all by that shockwave basically, and now immediately actually one Kobe's going down before the start of this battle, and now Fly now spending a lot of time with Torn Chief and getting into a good position for a shockwave. He does get one there, very, very nice shockwave. The Archmage has now hit level 5, so at level 3 water elemental going to be almost undispellable. It's actually some of these Spirit Walkers do run very, very too far forward, and are taken down. And actually this Torn Chief now very, very low on health as well, and will eventually be microed back again. Still does have that invuln pot as well as having picked up a potion of mana, so he was not in a huge amount of danger, but really Fly does need to dedicate some time to it, and also means that he can't be in good positions to get off those shockwaves that he really, really needs to get. And he gets into great position there for another shockwave, and the trait lightning actually not too effective, only hits a couple units because of the distance between the units, so decent play there by Yumiko, really managing to get the best of spreading out his units like that. And it looks like actually finally one sword does go down, but actually now the Torn Chief not going to be forced to use an invuln potion. He does eventually just use it in time, and we can see immediately salves over it as well, so that's very, very nice play here, as these Quilbeasts now actually doing a lot of damage to these Spirit Walkers in the back, but eventually the Quilbeast is taken down by the Grunts. But the Grunt's now all slowed, so Yumiko will be on the aggressive here, and it looks like he will be, oh actually no, he loses the slow there, so he won't be able to get any kills at all, and instead actually more invisible summons being used, just being sending them in and trying to get off some cancels. Obviously cancelling this clarity and healing salve will be very, very nice on this Torn Chief, and looks like maybe that's going to be something that Yumiko is actually going to be successful with as he continues to push here. All his units at very, very high health, and obviously the mana regeneration is still very, very high because of that level 5 Archmage, and we did have a cancel there on that salve and clarity, so this Torn Chief is going to be left only at half health and less than 100 mana, so really, really bad position now for Fly, but he is fighting in this space, so maybe that's going to help him a bit here, and he actually doesn't have Spirit Link cast on most of his units here, which is really an indication of how desperate he is for mana for dispels, and really, really that's a bad position for Fly now to be in as the speed scroll is now used. But again, Fly just manages to push forward with these huge hero levels, and whenever he does get off a shockwave he makes it a good one, and a bunch of low breakers now being forced back. Obviously they can't be shockwave to death, but the Farseer can actually do a fair bit of damage and at range as well, so that's a nice option. Looks like he's going to get at least a second kill, maybe no, actually that breaker just manages to get back because of the nice slow there on that Farseer, who's now actually getting pretty close to level 6. Speaking of pretty close to level 6, that's Torn Chief is dangerously close, and now Yumiko getting very, very aggressive with that Beastmaster. Does need to be very, very careful with it because he doesn't have any sort of way of healing it up or TPing out at this point, so he does need to be sort of more wary than he's being, especially considering that there are raiders about now, and the raider actually does go down, so there's no raiders left here for Fly, but he has now hit level 6 on his Torn Chieftain, and that is such a menace that we'll have to see. Yumiko actually looks like he's focusing it for some reason, maybe he just wants to get it over with basically, but he is going to eventually get the kill here. Actually no, he's brought down to very, very low health, and maybe Fly would be better just to kill off his own Torn Chieftain, just to bring it back with the mana at this point, as Fly now getting pushed back so much, really down to very, very few units, and Fly now with this very, very low Torn Chieftain just being able to be so aggressive because of that reincarnation potential. And we do have this Beastmaster now hitting level 5 and bringing up that Spirit Bear first bear I think we've seen in the game, but it does have blink, bear in mind, so it can just do a huge amount of damage now, just blinking in and out, actually getting some bash off there, and maybe now we're going to be seeing a surround on this Farseer who does have a TP. If he needs to use it, he will need to use it. Very, very nice use that blink there, and Yumiko now going to be able to be a bit more aggressive here. We'll probably won't see him take an expansion at this point. Probably he'll just try and continue to push, try and end it, maybe try and focus down the altar, or actually he's going for bros at this point. Fly doesn't really need his bros, so this is more really just to taunt him out, and actually, Fly needs to be careful, because if he moves too far out, this bear can just blink straight behind him and trap him in, and then that can just be a surround that you hold even during the reincarnation. Actually, looks like we do have the Storm Chieftain now finally going down, but he will be brought back with full mana and full health, so that is going to be something that Fly is going to be very, very happy with. The Storm Chieftain does come back, and we immediately see a Shockwave. Yes, we do there. Obviously, most of the spellcasters being kept at the back, but still very, very nice. Actually, look at this, Yumiko now getting trapped in that position where I said Fly could have been trapped before. Does eventually actually get out and uses invincibility as well. We don't see a Dispel here from Fly on that, so it looks like that Beastmaster will be fine for now, but it looks like Fly being under a huge amount of stress, despite these huge hero level advantage he had. It looks like he's just being absolutely overwhelmed at this point, as Yumiko's now going to be able to do a huge amount of damage to Torn Chieftain now without enough mana for another Shockwave, because of those breaker attacks being very, very nice at doing the feedback. And we do now have the Torn Chieftain yet again trying to get into a good position. Actually, very, very nice blink there, and just get a bash as well. Maybe this Torn Chieftain going to go down here. Actually, speech goes into the battle and then trying to get out of it as well. Looks like he uses a mana potion there, tries to get another nice hit off there, and does actually get one priest kill, but it's just not quite enough at this point, as his heroes are now on the run. Will we be seeing us around here? Yes, no, maybe so. Looks like we don't quite have this run quite yet, but it might not even be necessary at this point, because all Fly has left is a couple level 6 heroes, and the Farseer goes down, and the Torn Chieftain will go down soon after him, and there's the GG from Fly. Wow, what an amazing action-packed game that was. Really back and forth. Fly just had those huge hero levels, but in the end, Yumiko's nice use of his sort of splitting his units so that the Torn Chieftain and Farseer weren't too effective, and then also just nice constant aggression, really pushing at timings that Fly didn't want when he was healing up and claritying up, and forcing Fly to buy more mana potions and healing potions than he would have liked to. Really did prove to be very, very successful. So I hope you enjoyed that game, folks, and I'll try to bring you some more games in the near future. Thanks for watching, etc., folks.